Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers. And tonight is my extreme pleasure to introduce our guest, Moyra Gorski. Mariah, did I screw that?
Moyra.
Moyra.
Moyra
Moyra
Gorski. Yeah. It's a
Gorski.
bit of a
Sorry.
tongue twister. Yeah.
I am so sorry. I tried practicing it too before, so I
I
apologize.
I understand. Yeah. It's not the easiest name.
Well, that's okay though. It's
Yeah.
nice to have one of those unique names. There we go. No one else is going to
Yeah.
steal it, that's for sure.
No. And I used to be like before I was married, I was Moyra Miller. So that was easy. Like I only had one difficult, name. But
Right.
then Moyra Gorski, yeah, but it's okay. Yeah, I would rather I didn't like it growing up because it was like so difficult and the kids would make fun of me like the first day of school. But
Right.
now I'm like, it's fine. I have a unique name. And if you like one of those, that show called Schitt's Creek, Catherine O'Hara's name is Moyra. And so more people are familiar with the name now. So,
I love
anyway,
that.
I'll send it back to you.
I love that. Oh, so just tell us a little bit about your overcoming story, because I know there's a lot. I put it in the show notes, but I find it best to hear it right from our guests. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about your overcoming story.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to share. And I think there's a few things that I have overcome in my life. So I'll try to keep it brief or keep it to the time that we have. In high school, I had a really great upbringing, wonderful parents, supportive parents, and I went away to college and ended up really struggling in college and ended up developing an eating disorder in college, which, as I look back, it certainly was something that happened, although my daughter has been struggling, and so I look at my struggles as they seem to be kind of small, but at that time they were pretty big. I just struggled a lot with self-confidence and just being away from home and making my own decisions and things like that. And it just developed that I started to have an eating disorder. And really, as I got some help, at school and even after school, and I became a nurse and got my nursing degree and moved on, and got more confident and more happy with my life. That eating disorder took the back seat and went away. And again, I started to live a healthier life in my 20s, and again, working in nursing and in medical sales. So yes, thank you, Laura. I don't wish an eating disorder on anyone. And that's really I went on to meet a wonderful man. I married, had 4 children, and 3 boys and a girl. And my daughter, when she was in middle school, started to have just a little bit of anxiety, but nothing that we thought was out of the ordinary. I mean, it's middle school. Come on. Girls are not always nice to other girls. But in high school, she started to struggle with an eating disorder. And I got to tell you, when my past was seemingly repeating itself in front of my face, that was something that was pretty tough to swallow. And as we started to get her help and we started to learn more about this disorder that was taking hold of her, and they talk about a genetic component, and I started to feel like it was all my fault, right? I had an eating disorder, and my daughter had an eating disorder, and so maybe it was all my fault. And but as a mom and a concerned mom, I started to do everything that I could do to help her and get her the help that she needed, and outpatient and inpatient and all of those types of things. And her story is one that she will tell one day. But what I found is, after a couple of years of that incredible stress of that, as well as my 3 other boys, and I also have a wellness business that I've been, as an entrepreneur, a wellness business for the last 21 years. I was growing that business, and all of that stress started to really impact me. It impacted my health. And I also felt kind of like, wait a minute, who am I? I'm trying to help people with their health, and I can't even help myself. and I couldn't even help keep my daughter well. Right. And maybe I talked too much about diet culture. And it was like all of this guilt really started to really get to me. And it was, again, impacting me. And thankfully, from the help of some friends who started to say, you know what, you need, like, you're a great mom, right? You're like a superstar and you're trying hardest and all that, but you need to get some help for yourself. And you need to start taking care of yourself. And I started to hear about retreats that I could go on and different like self-development or life development classes and meditation and journaling and all these types of things. And I just started to, again, my friends were like, come on, let's go to this salt room. And it has a meditation there. It has like, my friends just started to invite me to things as caring friends. And I didn't really understand what they all kind of meant, but I knew that it sounded like when somebody said, well, let's go to an energy thing, an energy shift. I was like, okay, that sounds good. I could use some positive energy. Right. And so I started to, I started to read different books. I started to go to different things, which started to talk to me about what we all know, right? When we travel, like we have to put our oxygen mask on first. And we need to take care of ourselves first. And we just need to do that. That should be a non-negotiable, because if we don't do that, we're no good to ourselves, let alone our families, our businesses, anybody that comes our way. We just aren't any good unless we take care of ourselves. And so I started to learn what that was all about. I developed my morning routine where I go in the front room of my house and I spend some time reading and meditation and prayer. Journaling has become something that I never really thought I would do. And my penmanship kind of stinks. But journaling became a place that I could get my thoughts out of my head and that it could help me kind of decipher what I was thinking and kind of figure things out. So, I started to do that and get a little bit more specific about my nutrition and look at how I was eating, the things that I was taking that could help me with stress to help, combat, heal things on the inside. Cause that's what I'm all about. That's what I promote. And so slowly I started to feel better. And I saw the importance of that, again, that morning routine, that taking care of myself. Like I thought I knew about boundaries, but I started to learn more about boundaries, like boundaries with myself, boundaries with those around me, boundaries in my business, in my family, and things like that. And again, that's really how it started to be that I overcame this, I think the stress of life, and as I felt better and as I shared my story, I realized that everybody's got a story and we need to give each other grace. And again, we don't have to be superheroes in our life. What we really need to do is be the best we can be by taking care of ourselves and being like for my kids. I noticed that I needed to be a good role model to them with how do you take care of yourself? And especially my daughter who was struggling with taking care of herself, and that's a symptom of something else that's going on. But I, as parents, we're kind of like the bumpers that they bump up against in those role models to say, this is what it's like to take care of ourselves, or this is what it's like when we're having a bad day and we need a little time to ourselves and things like that. Just making sure that we, again, are a good role model for that. So
I absolutely love everything that you have just said. And I've been shaking my head because I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like we're in each other's mail. I'm just going to quickly go to the comments for 1 second. Do you know Dr. Laura Cobb?
I don't think so, but I think I want to know her. Yes.
You two need to connect because she has a similar story about the eating disorder.
Okay.
And she was a guest of mine. I forget exactly what episode, but she is amazing. And I think you two definitely should connect because you have a lot in common as well. Hello, Catherine. Thanks for joining us. And thank you, Sherry, for joining us. And Melody from Massachusetts. Thank you. It took Laura over 30 years to get over her eating disorder.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you. Talk about a stinger. And we'll go on and talk about my podcast too. I mean, that was really, that was why as we talked about kind of the universe and God, I felt like I needed to, as I shared more about my story, I thought, again, others can be helped by us sharing our stories. And I felt like I should do something. I mean, I was fairly vocal about when my daughter started to struggle. And again, not so much her story, but just the story of us and the parents. And like when we took her to Indiana to her first residential treatment program, that was arguably one of the most difficult days of our lives as parents when we left our daughter there and drove home. Yeah. And I shared partly for us, to get that support. But what I got to tell you, Dorothy, after that, like, I don't know if you remember like the Jerry Lewis telethons, like I started getting comments upon comments about comments and like messages, like, giving me the support that I was hoping for, but also like, I've struggled too. I've overcome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vocal. We need to talk more about mental health. These are struggles that people keep in the dark. And so
that is true. And that's exactly why I started the show, because I believe when you said everybody has a story that needs to be heard, I was just like, bang, I've always said that, because that's the whole point of me doing the show. We all have a story inside of us, and bringing these things to light, like eating disorders and mental illness and stress management. I love what Catherine says here. She has a stress management company and she feels like she needs stress management. And hey, Tim, thanks for joining us. And Greg as well. Oh, I mean, it's when I really hit home when both of you said this. We go through these things, we teach these things, but yet we still believe that we still need them ourselves. And it's funny because I'm the type of person, I've been in healing for the last 10 years of my life, and I feel like I am on like a fast forward, especially this last month. I don't know. God's trying to get me completely healed up at the end of the year so that 2022 is like by far like the skyrocket year. I truly believe that, because each day is something new. And today, what my thing was, a friend of mine is a fitness coach as well. And she has this, she's doing like, The Biggest Loser, but she's doing her own version of it. And she has her own YouTube channel. And I was watching it because one of a mutual friend of ours is joining up for season 4. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is all this about? I didn't even know Carmen was doing this. And so I was watching it, and she said, if we don't make ourselves a priority, we are never going to reach the goals that we have inside of us. And I have been preaching and teaching and mentoring and coaching people and telling them, hey, self-care is key. But yet I do the self-care, but there is still like, I need that boundary where I need to say, wait a minute, I need to put me first here for a little bit, guys. You need to start doing stuff too, in my household and things like that. And it's just like, it was eye-opening. And I've heard the same thing and I teach it, but it's just like, it's crazy how it can go so deep. And then when it penetrates, it's just like, it's a vortex, right? That's when everything opens up.
Yeah. And we just have to people will say to me, wow, you just do all these things and you're here and you're there and you're going to work out. And then you went to this retreat. I'm like, yes. Because that's what I preach that people should do, but I need to do it myself because I've seen the importance of it. And so I don't just say, hey, it's important. Like, you guys go do it. Like, I keep doing it every day. And so that's why I love coaching other people, because it's like, I'm not like an expert, like I've reached the pinnacle, right? Yeah. Like, I'm just a little farther ahead than perhaps the rest of you. And I'm just here to say, come on. I'm here, like, forging the way, but just come along. Like, I'll teach you everything I know. I'll be an example for you. Let's learn together, but let me help you come along. Yeah. Cause I keep doing the things every day too.
Yeah. And that is so, like, you've touched on, I'm just looking at this. I think every successful person has a morning routine. And when you touched on that, like your meditation and journaling and things like that, that's exactly what I do every morning. And people look at me sometimes like, well, how do you have time for that? Well, you make the time. It's either you make the time or you make the excuse. You can't have both, right? And
Right.
sometimes people don't like to hear that, but sometimes people need to hear the tough love of that. I get up at 4:20 in the morning, and I have a routine that I do. And without that routine, I wouldn't set myself up for the day that, to prepare myself for the day. Right. Journaling. I love the balance of journaling some days and reflecting in the forest sometimes. Tim loves to go on nature walks.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Laura.
Yeah, God mornings. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I like
morning,
that.
God, not good God morning. I love that.
Right. That's good. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like when it's dark out and nobody else is up, I get up and this morning I got up really early and I go to this spin class that I like early. But then when I come home, then I sit down and I do, my morning routine. Because don't you find your days go better when you start your day that way? With being grateful and, kind of clearing the path to the great day.
And I have to say, I have to confess. So this weekend, my husband and I kind of unplugged. We had not started Christmas shopping at all. And we decided that we were going to hop across the border. We were going to go to Chicago. We were going to meet up with some friends. And we were friends that I have been in my life for almost a year.
Did you come to Chicago and not call me?
You know what? I'm looking at your show notes just now and I'm like, oh crap, she's in Chicago. I didn't know she was in Chicago.
Well, I'm 30 miles west of the city, so I'm not super close to probably where you were, but we were closer than we are now.
I was in Niles, so I don't know I have no clue how close that is.
That's north. Well, it's probably, 35 minutes away. You're north of the airport, and I'm again due west of the city. So
Well, I'm telling you, I took Chicago traffic, y'all, is crazy. Holy cow! Like, and especially you add darkness and rain. I have to give kudos to my husband because he did an amazing job driving through that. If it was up to me, I'd be crying on the side of the road still, because you all are crazy drivers in Chicago. And Christy was the birthday girl that I went to go see. I didn't know you were in Chicago either, Laura. Sorry.
Yeah, you better tell us when you come into town next. So
yes, well, yes, laughing at the Chicago traffic. I told her, it's funny because Christy drove me from her house to her office. She's a holistic chiropractor, an amazing holistic chiropractor in, what's that name? Oh, it's a little town in suburb of Chicago. Anyways, it's there. It's in the Chicago area.
She'll tell us in a second, right?
Yeah, she'll tell us. I had it written down. I know it's on Popular Street. There we go. In Willamette.
Oh,
there we
Willamette. Go. Okay. Yeah, yes. Willamette.
So if you need a holistic chiropractor, she's the best.
It's a beautiful suburb. Yeah.
Yes. And hook up with Dr. Christy. And so she, it was her birthday and we were going there. So we celebrated hard Saturday, and her and our friend Jen Zahari, and it was wonderful. And that's what the whole story was. So because I was not in my normal home and in my normal routine at home, I kind of didn't do my meditation in the morning. And I was just like, on Sunday, I'm like, why am I like this? Like, what's happening? How come I feel like it wasn't anxiousness, but I definitely felt different. And I'm like, oh, it's because you didn't have any meditation. My normal routine, I didn't have any of that, which threw me completely off. And I was just like, why am I like, it was totally different. So yes, getting into that and that gratitude, getting into the meditation and the journaling for sure. So I just have a question here. So you said at an early age, your self-confidence was off. For sure. Laura said off, so that's why I said off. Your self-confidence was kind of low. Do you think that, I know for myself, I had very little self-confidence because of, I was bullied all through school for my weight. And it's funny because I listen to people that have, a different side of it where, the eating disorder going the other way instead of the way mine had went. Do you find that a lot of girls, especially teens, struggle with some kind of self-confidence issue?
I think they do. And I think more so now because it's just because of social media, because of, just this whole fake persona of what like perfect is type of thing. And if you don't fit in to that, we live in a beautiful, suburb of Chicago here, and, upper middle class. And if you go to high school, it's a big high school, lots of kids, but like if you don't play football or in the show choir or like in the AP classes, it's like there's something wrong with you. And I feel like people are just, the kids are, it's hard for the kids. And I've seen that again with our 4 kids, because we have, my daughter who struggled in high school, but she was involved in so many things. But we have, my youngest son just went off to the Air Force. Like he went to study in high school to be a mechanic. Like he was doing something different. They have a really cool program here that you can start studying the trades your junior year. So he did that. But when I talk to moms, they're like, oh, I never even heard of that. I didn't know you could do that. And so it's kind of like, if you don't fit into this way that whoever it is, right, says that they're supposed to be, I feel like they're made fun of and things like that. And that just doesn't help their self-confidence. I had a good upbringing, and I was happy for the most part, and I was involved in things like that. But I feel like when I went away to college, and it was like, and I was raised again very conservatively, so we kind of did what our parents said. We didn't really veer from that. They had their standards and expectations. So when I went away to college and I had those temptations, and like that's when I really started to struggle, like me making the decisions, and is it the right decision? Should I do this? Maybe my mom wouldn't agree, like all of those type of struggles. It was really more when I left that cocoon of, be it that it was right or wrong, like this is what we followed and what we did. So then I'm on my own trying to make my own decisions. That was difficult for me. And it was, it was a tough school, and just a lot of things, friends saying like, come on, let's go drink, and like the dating thing and like all those kind of things. It was difficult for me to find my footing into me standing on my own type of thing. And so that's really, but to answer, that was a long, answer to your question, but yes, kids do. And especially like, the girls in middle school, it's just like, it's tough. And and like our oldest one, he ended up staying home a lot. The boys were all hockey players. And so they had a busy life with hockey, but then socially they either were playing hockey or they were at home. And I was like, why aren't they going out? But then I was like, it's better probably that they are just like, I don't want to go out and deal with that stuff. That's what my older son said. Like, okay, stay home. So
I totally get that. And do you find that even as an adult that sometimes you still struggle with that self-confidence? Or do you think that you totally are over that?
Well, I can't say that I'm totally over it, but I know that I've come a long ways. But I have found that I still, and I call them, and some other people call them, I still have red light stories in my head of, that I'm really not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or who am I to, and we talked about this before I came on. Like I started, one of the things that I decided to do to just bring some fun in my life, is I thought I would take a ballroom dance class. And so I did that about 1.5 years ago. And here I am today, still dancing. I've competed a couple of times. And I have to tell you that, and again, I just started it to just have a little bit of fun.
Right.
And then my coach, who said, you're pretty good. And like, and it's kind of what they do. Like, hey, if you're pretty good, we can go do a competition together. And, and so I thought, reel you in. Okay. Yeah, that's right. They reeled me in for sure. I I grew up playing classical music on the piano. And so I love the smooth, like waltz, foxtrot. I mean, come on, I love to dance that. And I kind of get the feeling or whatever. So I went to my first competition, and talk about, like, I was all ready, but talk about not having the confidence and like being like, but that would take a long time to talk about that. But it was like the red light stories that showed up. I mean, Dimitri said, "What is wrong with you?" He goes, "You did great." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I had all these mistakes I made, and I tripped over your feet in this one." He's like, "Can you just look at the good instead of the bad? Like, you started dancing 6 months ago, and now you just competed in this competition, and you brought home a medal. Like, those women that are dancing that you danced against, they've been dancing for 6 years. What do you so yes, there was that, like, okay. And I really did a big, deep dive in like, what is going on with this? Because he said, you need to look at the good. And that's what I tell, the people, the gals that I coach and my kids, like, look at the good, not the bad. And when I went on to do my second competition, it was a totally different thing. Because I went into it saying, you know what? My daughter helped me really with. She said, Mom, look at these competitions as like a swim meet. Because she was a swimmer. When you go to a swim meet, you're trying to do better, like time-wise, right? You're the breaststroke, and you can do it in 2, whatever it is. So next meet, you would just want to do a little bit better, right? You don't necessarily have to win, but you just want to improve your time. And she said, look at that. Because that's kind of the way it is. Like, I'm in my 50s and I'm a bronze student. So I just compete within that realm. And she said, just try to do the best you can and maybe a little bit better. I'm telling you, it changed my whole persona. I ended up winning the top medal and all of that stuff, which winning is just kind of the frosting on the cake. But Dimitri said to me, he goes, boy, your attitude is completely different. He goes, it's just... And I said, yeah, I showed up to have fun instead of showing up to going, wow, I don't even, like, what am I doing here? Who am I to be a ballroom dancer? Oh, I'm in the pretty dress. Like, I can't do, it's like all of the, I'm 58 years old. I say, yes, I'm very confident. And then something like that showed up, and I was like, wow, it brought some of those fears up, and that self-confidence issues, it really came up. And so as I tell people, thank you, Laura, as I tell people about dance, like, again, what I never expected, that dance is just a metaphor for life. I mean, I went into that studio, and my fears and my body image issues, which I pretty much thought that I had overcome, they started popping up. Come on, do your arm like this. And then I was like, oh, this is a little wiggly. And oh, come in here. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I thought I was good. And then it's, come on, go like this. And oh, you're so beautiful in front of the mirror. And like these little, whatever they were, gremlins or those, insecurities popped up. So I think
I think it's totally normal, because I see myself like the same thing, right? And sometimes, we can get triggered and we go back to our, 8-year-old little girl or 12-year-old little girl that was traumatized at the time of different things. But I know the more that I'm stepping into my calling in life, the more it's almost like a resistance that I'm getting. And it's like I'm being forced to deal with different situations from the past, which, it brings up that, like Laura said, imposter syndrome, and stuff like that. Like, who am I? Like, why am I starting my own show? Like, who am I to, have just start a show in May, and then all of a sudden, have like 37 episodes already put behind me. And, who wants to listen to me, the little girl from Chatham, Ontario? It's just those things that we tell ourselves. But, the more we keep on stepping into it, the more we keep on stepping into that purpose and that calling in our lives, it's just like, it feels wonderful to bust through all that crap, because that's what it is. It's just, the lies that we keep on telling ourselves to keep us stuck from doing what we're meant to do. And I absolutely love what you said, because it's true. I don't think there isn't a personal life here that, has gone through something and then it still comes back, every once in a while. We had a unique question here. Oops, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, one of the therapists said to me, one of my therapists said to me, when pain like shows up, Like, because I went to a therapist when my daughter started to struggle. I found out an eating disorder therapist, and I walked in and she goes, "What are you doing here? I usually treat the kids." I'm like, "I need some help." And she said, when that pain comes up, like, it's there to teach something,
Yep.
And so the pain showed up, and like, it didn't trigger any behaviors, but it triggered a lot of emotion. So I think when those things show up,
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned so much about my fears and like how I coach other women to like, just come on, do it anyway. It doesn't matter if you're afraid, just do it. Well, here I was faced with that same thing. And if I didn't do it, like I needed to do that to show them that, yes, you can push past the fear. And even though you're afraid, you can do it anyway. And you can still, and you can overcome that.
Absolutely. I think you can overcome any fear as long as you're willing to put the work in to overcome it.
Right.
And I was in Dr. Christie's office this weekend, and some things had come up about fear. And I'm like, okay, well, in a sense, I was hiding certain areas of my life. And so the fear was strong and I didn't even realize it. And so busting through that. And then this morning, as I was doing my meditation, I'm like, oh, wait, there's also fear from this too. And I'm like, okay, so, and we have this perception that we should be perceived a certain way and that we should, always act a certain way. And we're human above all else. And, we really don't have to. People don't dictate how our lives run. And then as soon as that fear came up, I was just like, well, wait a minute. It's none of their business anyways, And so I'm just like, why did I even let that bother me? And I'm just like, but that was another breakthrough. I needed to learn that lesson again to, dig deep in and say, okay, wait a minute. That people pleaser that you were for the first 35 years of your life, that woman's gone. And now you're stepping into the person that you are meant to be. And that's why this resistance is there. So I totally love that you said that. Okay. So about your work in the White House. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, she must have seen that on my profile someplace.
Yes.
But
yes.
So I haven't worked in the White House, but I actually I'm a wellness. I have a wellness business, an entrepreneur, and I represent a product line. So the green cleaning products for the product line that I represent have been used in the White House. They've been used. The laundry detergent, the green cleaning products have been used in the White House, as well as the the vice president's residence too. So that's what that story is all about. I haven't been to the White House or really worked that directly with them, although that would have been cool. That would be cool. But some of the products, again, that I represent, they've been used on Jacque Cousteau missions, with Olympic athletes, and in the White House, and on some of the Time Life adventures and things like that. So. Yeah, that's hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kirsty says she loves it that you look at the good versus the bad. That's absolutely super true. Perspective. Yeah. That's right. Each day is a little better.
I find, I really commend you for doing what you're doing, for, again, having a show, for, bringing people, talking about your story, and not, because I think when we're authentic and we share, people can really relate to us. If we look too much like, oh, we have it all together, like, it's hard for people to relate to that. And, I think had a similar calling to you when I thought, I need to share more about my story and sharing other people's stories. And so a coach that I was working with, I told her, I said, I'd like to start a podcast, I think. And she said, I don't think that's a really good idea. I don't think it really helped you reach your goals. And I was like, okay, well, I don't coach with her anymore. So the idea kept coming up. And I think when God gives you an idea, like, you need to pay attention to it. Right.
Yes.
And so I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm good at. I love to connect. I love to talk. Let me hear your story. I'll tell you mine, that kind of thing. I love to do that. And I said, and podcasting's the new thing. So I'm going to try a podcast. And somebody all of a sudden showed up at a meeting who knows how to set up podcasts and do great. So I did it. I decided to launch a podcast and to share my story of the chaos of recovery. And that's what it's called, Juggling the Chaos of Recovery. But I realized that there's lots of stories. And so I called my friends and people that I knew and said, would you come on my podcast? And can I share your story? And 130 episodes later, you know what I've learned is that my voice has value, and
Yes,
that
it
people
does.
connect with, thank you, and people connect with others who share their stories. And as I interview people, like I hear, like it's therapeutic for me. It's like 130 episodes of therapy. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Like I would do an episode. I was like, wow, I needed to hear that today. The
Yeah.
mom that said, or the son that said, when I was interviewing a mom and son, and I talked to the son about like, what was it like to have your mom being, she had sobered up first, but what was it like for your mom to be there cheering you on? And he said, you know what? I think it was great. But until I was ready to recover, it didn't matter what my mom said. I mean, that hit me, right? That's what I needed to hear, because it's true. Until my daughter, until, people really want to step into that true recovery, it doesn't matter what everybody else who loves them says. And so anyway, again, I commend you for doing this, because I truly believe that stories are so powerful. We can tell our stories, and we don't need to be afraid of that, and give people that space to share their story. And I wanted to share that there is hope, in recovery, and there's hope in overcoming. That's why I wanted to connect with you. I'm like, I think we're talking the same language. We want to, there's such power in sharing that story of overcoming, and that we don't have to let our past define who we are today or going into the future. So
apparently that's the message that is supposed to be said, because I'm like going like this because the Holy Spirit is just like, boom, I've got goosebumps all over my arms that are like an inch high and are just like, wow, I love this. I'm just gonna go back to the comments for a second, but you're absolutely right. That is, everybody has a story, and it's true. Connecting with people to get them on our shows, it's like, I don't know about you, but I've networked with some amazing people, and their stories, and the relationships that we have built with that is unbelievable. Ligia is amazing. She's from Costa Rica, and she says, fortunately, that she can say that the pandemic has been the beginning of her self-discovery. And that's, folks, that's when I wrote my book, was at the beginning of the pandemic. So I absolutely agree with you. Greg is another one that I connected with. He is an ex-combat officer. Definitely somebody that you might want to connect with too. He has a powerful story. Your voice has value. Everyone has a unique story to share. It would, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's oh yeah, I'll come on Clubhouse. I haven't, Clubhouse is one of those things, like people know me, like they're like, oh, you're going to a new workout place. Like I got to try the new thing. So when Clubhouse came on, I was like, oh, I'm going to get on Clubhouse. And it's, it can really suck your time. So I was on Clubhouse for a while, and I made some great connections. One of the gentlemen that I'm going to post his episode later this week, I met him through Clubhouse, because you can do, find a guest, be a guest rooms. Yeah. And I met this wonderful man from Scotland, this great gal from Australia, like on Clubhouse. It was really cool, but it was kind of like, okay, I got to back away. Right. But I would love to come on back onto Clubhouse and make some connections there, and share my story. So
I honestly, I just got on Clubhouse because one of the things I'm in, she does rooms in there. So that's the only reason why I started on there. But I have to get into Dr. Laura's show for sure. She said, come tonight. There is the
totally time suck. Yeah. I mean, tonight I have a team call at a team training call at 8:00 my time. So I'm not able to come on tonight. After this, I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to, go on my team call. But I would love to. I'll connect with you, Laura, and we'll find a time, and I'll come in there. And yes, try not to get my time sucked.
It's fun. It's just, so I don't know about you though, because I'm used to video. So for me, video does not. And when I'm talking to somebody, I like the fact that I can see them because it's visual. With Clubhouse, it's all audio. So I like it, but I feel it's kind of weird for that sense for me. It's just something which you're used to.
Yeah, it is different. And And I think that's kind of cool. And I did, I mean, I hopped on there during the pandemic, and I mean, I commended a lot of these women that I met there who had like, one had a travel business. One was a, you know, it was like all of a sudden their business is gone. And so they were becoming, you know, then becoming just, they had to reinvent themselves or reinvent their business. And it was cool. I mean, it was cool. But again, I was like, okay, I got a business to run and other stuff. And I do like to go, you know, I did like to go on and can connect with other people and tell my story, and be able to connect with others that I could, you know, share their stories too. So it's a neat, it's a, you know, neat platform. Yeah.
And welcome Inger. Inger's another one that if you haven't connected with already, definitely connect with her. She's an amazing lady as well. So, and Melody, you probably want to connect with Melody because Melody is an amazing lady, and she actually can connect you with different people for your podcast as well.
Okay.
But
great.
Yeah. I'm the connector tonight.
You are the connector. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Connecting. And yeah, so I just want to say that, yeah, it's that's what I do. That's what I love about what we do. It's connecting people, connecting souls one at a time. And I, you know, my goal each night that I do the show is to at least reach one. My ultimate goal is 1 million, but if I reach one a day, then, you know,
yeah,
that's
if we can change one person's lives, that's, you know, I always say that. I mean, I had a gentleman who was a guest on my podcast, and he called me one day, and I don't know, he's in a speakers group that I was a part of, and I was like, oh, he probably wants me to speak or something. What's he calling me? And he just told me, he said, listen, I shared my episode, and then also a mutual friend, her episode. And he said, I connected with her cousin or something like that was in jail. I don't know. It was this beautiful story that he told me. And he said, I just want to tell you that the impact that you were having on those lives, you know, I didn't really explain it that well, but he was like, and it meant so much to me that he reached out and said, I want to tell you what you're doing is, you know, is valuable. And it is, because we never know who's listening. We never know who needs to hear it. And, I'm telling you, God and the universe is a powerful thing. I mean, I was led, my mother passed at the beginning of this year. And the day that I brought her home, that we were bringing her home, you know, into hospice, I interviewed a gal that I had met on matchmaker.fm, which is a really cool other platform where you can find a guest and be a guest kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Tinder for podcasters. And
pretty much.
And pretty much, yeah. And she has a wonderful business called Permission to Bloom. She went through a very terrible divorce, and she felt like she died, and she had to kind of give herself permission to bloom again. And that's why I wanted to connect with her, because I love women who empower other women. Well, she ended up also being an end of life doula. Oh, and if you listen to that episode,
I watched that. Yes, I listened to that episode. Yes.
I think I sent it to you. Like, she helped me process the grief that I was starting to go through because my mother was starting to pass. And how does that work, right? It's like the universe bringing us people that we need to connect with, either that we need to connect with, or we need, again, that story. I shared that with a gal last week whose husband had a stroke, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and never recovered. And they turned the machine off, and he's gone. And her grief is palpable. I mean, when she shares it on Facebook, and rightly so. So I shared that. I believe that can help her. So again, as we share, we can help other people, and we can help ourselves, right?
That is so true. And that's funny because I shared with you that my dad had just passed away. It's actually be 3 months tomorrow. So that's how come I listened to that.
That's right.
You gave me that podcast to listen to, and it was absolutely incredible. And it's funny because Tim Shawn has a cancer show, Perspectives About Cancer. So he's been fighting leukemia for 15 years. So him and Kara Oker have their show to raise awareness for like patients, survivors, families of either survivors or people that have gone. And I'm actually on his show tomorrow night, and then I'm on your show Thursday.
That's right. Yeah. Then you're coming on Thursday. Yeah.
I'm going on your show Thursday. So it's been a blessing. You know, and that's why, you know, to share those stories is because we all have grief and we all have that. And it's just one big giant support system to, you know, for the universe. There we go.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm getting excited here because we are going to bring Kimberly back onto the show, and Kimberly is going to do the fundamental section of the show tonight. So I'm going to bring Kimberly back in.
Hi.
Hi. So I had given a clue earlier and did a quick live before the show that if you could guess where Kimberly was at, she's someplace in Chicago. So yeah. let you take it over.
Okay. All right, perfect. Well, first of all, I'm just super excited that we are actually on location, everyone. Yay! First time ever officially on location. We are in Chicago. We are.
You'll never guess.
Yeah, you'll never guess. So I'm not going to tell you yet. And Moyra and Dorothy, what an incredible show. We've been watching the whole show from the green room, and this really fantastic. And it couldn't be more perfect when you mentioned the shift that happened for you was when you stopped being so serious, right? And you really took on fun in your life, which that is this segment. This segment is committed that people have that opportunity to realize that when they put fun in, the difference that it makes, and that these vessels that God bequeathed upon us were really they're vessels for fun, and they actually don't function very well when you put anything else in there. Right? The vessels aren't designed to harbor concern, anxiety, fear. It's not created to hold those kind of energies. So thank you. It was like we're sitting back here in the green room going, oh my gosh, look at that. She's walking right into the fundamental. So thank you for who you are, Moyra. Like,
you're welcome. Thank you.
And we just love you to pieces. So
thank you very much.
You're welcome. You know what? And before I segue to our surprise guest on location, Moyra, we love to hear from you. If there were 3 fun, and now notice we've done a play on words with the fundamentals, which it's FUN in capital letters, DUH, right? So these are the things that are like duh, like, you know, you don't even have to think about it, right? And then mentals, right? Because we're really, really clear that when your mind's right, everything else is right, right? Everything flows, you know, so beautifully. So Moyra, we'd love to hear what your fundamentals are that you would love everyone to gather from you. If you could only give them 3, what would your top 3 be?
Yeah, my top 3 would be, and I mentioned a little bit of that, are certainly a morning routine. I mean, that is something and most importantly in there, I think the thing that I'm starting to really love, and I guess, a couple things that I'm having fun with is the journaling part of it. I mean, to the point that I self-published a journal this year because I have loved journaling, and it's really helped me a lot. So definitely a morning routine. I love nutrition. I'm a nurse, and I'm on the other side with wellness, and I've just realized over the years the importance of good nutrition. I mean, again, and I'm a foodie. I mean, people will say, oh, you probably don't eat this, you know. I'm like, no, I love food, but it's all about the balance. Like, and let's eat good food instead of processed stuff and stuff in a bag or whatever, but just good nutrition, because we need to give our body what it needs so that we can feel good and that we can look good and, you know, age gracefully, if you will, if there's any truth to that. And then the third one is find things that bring you joy, right? I mean, it might be ballroom dance. It might be, I don't know, ice skating. It might be like, there's a gal that I used to live next to, like 6 blocks down the road. Her kids are gone. Like, she is, I don't know, I think it's watercolors. She is watercolor painting. She posts on Facebook. I'm like, you are really good. Like, she loves to do that. And like, find something that brings you joy. Now, again, come to a dance lesson with me, and my instructors are like, would you stop thinking so much and connect right here? Well, I've been thinking so much for years. And so it's still hard to make that connection and like connect with my heart and feel with my heart and stuff like that. But I keep working on it, because there was a time that I was dancing and it was like all of a sudden I like felt, it may sound weird, but I felt my fingers and holding on to him when I was doing the foxtrot in a totally different way. I was like, wow, like I think I'm like starting to wake up or something. Like I think I was in like autopilot for a while. Like I'm a mom of 4, I got an entrepreneur, I got a lot of stuff going on. And I feel like all of a sudden I'm starting to wake up. And, you know, so we got to find things that bring us joy. Cooking, gardening, walking with your friends, whatever it is. But I always tell people, and we said this before the show started, like, thanks for saying, oh, you're a great ballroom dancer. But you know what? What do you want to do? Like, what have you always dreamed about doing? Just go and do it. Life is too short, right? Life is too short for us to not. Right? So just go do it.
Amen.
And have fun with it.
Yeah, those are awesome. Those are, and by the way, I already jotted them down. It's like and really, especially, well, all 3 of them are fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing them with us tonight. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, so I'm going to have to figure out a drum roll. This is just so exciting. We got jazz hands over here. Episode 1 on the actual, look at Dorothy's doing it. Yay, I heard it. So who I'm about to introduce you to and who I'm on location with is actually someone who is one of my most nearest and dearest people on the planet, who is the co-author, one of the co-authors in my current book, which is Overcoming Mediocrity by Being Fearless. And Moyra speaking to giving herself permission to turn herself completely over to her personal heart and soul passions. She is a phenomenal artist, and has literally taken her show on the road.
A whole different level.
Exactly. So you guys can hear in the background. And guys, thank you for your patience as I'm learning how to, work the equipment. Clearly, Dorothy, we're going to have a crew here. Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, maybe I can sneak
there
in.
she is. So everybody say hello to Kimmy Dvorak.
Hi there.
And here we go. I'm going to try to switch my camera. This is very exciting.
Takes you like
I
10
was
seconds
playing
to
with
jump back
this.
on.
Yeah. And if I disappear, I'll come back. I promise everyone.
Like 10 seconds.
Okay. And so this is Lola. And I don't know how well you can see. I'm getting closer. But this is Kimmy. Where's the lights went off? These are some of Kimmy's art pieces. Okay. And we're inside of a makeshift pop-up in Chicago. She's getting. Can you guys see them okay?
Yeah.
Here.
Beautiful.
And I'm gonna let Kimmy tell you a little bit about these. Can you do the rings?
Yep.
There's your rings. Ooh. And then some of her other pieces. And Kimmy's gonna tell you about these pieces. She also does actual artwork as well, on canvas. Can you guys see Kimmy okay? It's hard for me to. Okay, Kim. No. Don't go away.
All right, you're like right in my face. She's literally like 3 inches
but
from
I
my
want to make
face.
sure they can see you.
Okay.
So Kimmy, share a little bit about how the Scarabs got birthed, and then we'll go into what your fundamentals are.
Yeah, well, originally, so my company is Scarab Sanctuary. You can find that on Instagram, Etsy. It's hashtag Scarab Sanctuary. And where they were started was my love of, all things kind of fun and magical and mystical and creepy crawly at the same time. So just loving that they bring joy, which I heard Moyra bring up earlier, like the importance of joy, and luck and magic with them everywhere. And they started as, what they are is little mini sculptures with champagne wire cages, which are called mousselets for legs. And then I would house these little beetles that I made in shadow boxes at first. And they were, and sorry, I have a bit of a migraine, so I'm a little like, they were shadow boxes, which were sardine cans. And I was like, well, I drink a lot of champagne and I eat a lot of like smoked oysters. So what am I going to do with all this stuff, right? So it was a perfect housing for my little creations of magic. And people started, when I would bring them on the road and share them at events and was out selling them, people kept asking, can I pop it out and wear it? Can I pop it out and wear it? And I was like, no, it's a piece of artwork. You hang it on your wall. And then I listened to the public and started making them into art. And now they've, into jewelry. And now they've evolved beyond just scarabs, because at one point I was like, maybe not everybody wants a ginormous beetle. So I brought in all kinds of other animals and insects and beautiful creations. And what I do is I troll through. Kimberly's been with me when I drag her into antique markets on the road. We went in one 4-story building in Kansas City, and I found the teeniest, tiniest little cameo. It's so fun to go on the hunt through what is a massive, hugely vast area of space and like find that perfect little thing and rip it all apart and upcycle it and recreate it. So estate sales, antique markets, while I'm on the road, I love the hunt, and I love being able to piece all of these things together to breathe new life into them.
So you guys all got that, right? Amazing. They're amazing pieces. And Dorothy, what I'm present to is to get you the link to the sanctuary so they can go to it. Kimmy, what did you say it was again?
Well, if you go Etsy, I can read the whole thing out if you want, but it's on Etsy. I'm Scarabs Sanctuary. There's no space in between. So it's SCARAB and then new word sanctuary, but all together. Scarab Sanctuary all together. And same thing on Instagram. You can do like hashtag Scarab Sanctuary. And then reach out to me. I love doing commissions.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm looking on Instagram. Really cool stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, go.
And then Kimmy, you got 3 minutes
to
share your fundamentals.
My fundamentals. So when Kimberly asked me like, what are your fundamentals? I was like, oh, first 2 things that came to me were so simple. It's like, keep creating, even if I don't want to. I think we're all in that space sometimes where we're just like, I just don't want to, right? But keep creating, even if I don't want it. Next one is keep communicating and keep sharing, Moyra. Keep sharing with people, even if I don't want to. So keep communicating and sharing with people, even when I don't want to. That's number 2. And then number 3 is, just always remember that nothing is irreconcilable. Like when you're building and creating, there's no mistakes. And it can all be turned into a triumph if you keep creating. And if you really like, and that's applicable everywhere. It's not just art, everybody listening, whatever you're passionate about in your life, consider that maybe there's no mistake. So then if there's no mistake ever, then you can just loudly proclaim, like, I meant to do that, and turn it into something magic and totally own it.
And have fun with it.
Yeah, and that's where the true mastery in creation comes in play, is like when you can actually take what you might consider a mistake and just keep building and sharing unabashedly what your passions are.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimmy and
You're
Dorothy.
so welcome.
Back to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kimmy, for being on the show tonight. That is magic what you're doing over there with your artwork. Absolutely magic over there. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's like I can get her the link. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we're dark. Look at how dark we are. We're both here.
All right. I love it. I just want to thank all of our guests for being on the show tonight. You absolutely make the show each and every week. And Moyra, I just love having you on here. And, I'm already getting text messages saying, wow, this has been an incredible show, so I just
thank you.
That's why I'm kind of looking down. I'm listening to everybody, but I'm like, hey, this was incredible.
Thank you. Means a lot.
The content on tonight's show was absolutely off the chart, so we appreciate you being here. And do you have any last words for our guests and our viewers tonight?
I just think I'd like to tell people, like, just keep taking care of yourself. I love what Kimmy said about nothing is irreconcilable. I needed to hear that today. But it's just like, just keep taking care of yourself and don't apologize for you. I mean, we're all unique and we all have made, we've all made mistakes. We've all done good things, bad things, or whatever, but don't apologize, because I used to apologize that I was different than my siblings. And I thought that there was something wrong with me. This is just me. This is who I am. And so, but don't apologize, and make sure you take care of yourself. right? At the end of the day, what do you got? You got you. So take care of you, love you, and because that's the most important thing.
I love that. That message has been nailed home to me like 4 times today. So I guess I better listen to that.
Yeah.
I absolutely need to listen to that. And look out, world, because new boundaries are coming up.
Good. Yeah.
All right. And with that, again, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And it's been an amazing show. And we'll see you back here next week. And next week is our Christmas show. And we will be having Tiki Davis on the show next week. So his story is absolutely incredible. I'm not going to do a spoiler alert because you definitely need to hear what he has to say as well. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on tonight, Moyra. Sorry, I keep on messing it.
You got it, though. You got it.
Did I? All right.
Moyra.
Like I'm in Jersey. Moyra.
That's right. Yeah.
I finally got it for Thursday night. All right. Yeah. Well, with that, have an amazing night, ladies, and God bless you all.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.